Hello everyone, thanks for joining us for the third lesson in the teacher leadership training offered by the Leadership Society of Arizona. Hello everyone, thanks for joining us for the third lesson in the teacher leadership training offered by the Leadership Society of Arizona. So let's get right into it today. Releasing control as a teacher. One of the big paradigm shifts is letting go, is allowing people to be able to do what they naturally do. And this is probably the hardest thing for any adult, let alone teacher, to be able to do. So let's kind of go through what this looks like. The first thing we need to understand is the different paradigms of control, influence, and direction. On the left-hand side, you have the no-influence paradigm, and on the right-hand side, you have the influence paradigm. Now, what is the influence paradigm? The influence paradigm is the idea that the environment shapes the individual, that depending on what comes in from the outside depends on who this student's going to be or who this individual is going to be. Now, when you believe the outside shapes who you are, some characteristics follow. And so underneath you see the characteristics. Because it's so confusing and there's so many variables outside, if you believe the outside is shaping you, then you're more likely to believe in luck and chance. Of course, you're more likely to blame other people because other people actually are to blame. They have an impact on who you are. More likely to be surprised, more likely to feel controlled. And of course, when you're in an environment where you feel you can be controlled, then you're also more likely to go and try and control other people. And this is what we have found through research, that that's how people feel and actually act. And of course, you're more likely to be reactive, less likely to plan, because there's so many things that could get in your way and stop you from doing what you want to do. Now, if you look on the left-hand side, that's the no-influence paradigm. And if you see the arrows, on the right-hand side, the arrows are pointing in because the environment is shaping the individual. On the left-hand side, the no-influence paradigm, the arrows are facing out because the belief here is that I control my environment. I determine my environment. My environment does not determine me. Meaning everything that comes into my environment, everything that comes into my life is shaped by who I am. Now, this comes with a lot of different characteristics as well. Mainly, if you believe you're in control of yourself and what happens to you, then you're more likely to plan things in advance, more likely to be accountable. Of course, life is simpler for you because the only person you really need to understand to see into your future is you. So instead of millions of variables making things very complex for you to see into the future, it becomes very simple. And when it's simple, you can see farther, so you have a greater vision. You're more likely to listen to other people because they're identifying to you what's going on with you because you're attracting them. And of course, more likely to be at peace with what's going on. Now, here's the thing. This is like the chicken or the egg, and it's a debate that has happened for so long on can you be influenced or do you have no influence, and do you control your life, and how much of your life do you control? We're not going to get into that debate today, but what we want to present to you is this idea. And the idea is, if you want to be the most successful person in life, which methodology are you more likely going to take? And the way we like to present this to students is, if you are the owner of an organization, of a company, and you want to hire someone, who are you more likely to hire? The influence person or the no influence person? And of course, if you're looking at the characteristics, you're definitely going to want to hire the person with the idea that the no influence model, or they control their own life. They're more likely to improve your business, be responsible, and take accountability for what they're doing. Now, if the no influence person is more likely to be successful in life, what we tell students is, which one is more likely to be more accurate of life? The one that will make you more successful or the one that will make you less successful? And of course, principles that make you more successful are also more likely to be accurate. And so we tell students, even if you don't believe this, if you act as if you are in control, and if you go about life as if there is no influence, you're more likely to be successful in it. And this is also the basis of, as we go out and we try to teach, try to manage, try to do things. When we try to influence other people and do this, we see that it seems to be less successful. But as we use the no influence approach and realize that people are who they are, try to understand them more instead of influence them, we find that this also brings more success in the development of people. And so, this is the beginning of realizing, hey, we have to try to pull back. We have to try to release more control. You can kind of see some of the statistics again. This control-oriented model, in business it hasn't worked, and we're seeing also in the K-12 environment, it doesn't seem to work as well. When we go to social issues, what we have also found, the more society tries to control people, we found the less performance they get out of the people, the less desired results that they get, because that is just the natural law of life. And we see this with gun control, immigration. You see this even in, if you have a relationship or a family, you see the more you try to control the other people in the family, the less they're more likely to do what you want them to do. Now, at this time, I'd like to tell you a story dealing with a controlling spouse. So my family is a family of engineers. And my dad, he told me the story of when him and my mom first got together. Of course, he selected my mom off of a best value system and identified the perfect woman for him. And my mom was great. But my mom, he said, taught him one of the most important lessons of his life right after they got married. And he tells me, right after they got married, my mom got pregnant. And she got really sick. I think he said that she lost immediately like 20 pounds. Couldn't eat anything, was lying on the couch every day, really in bad shape. And so my dad, being an engineer, decided he was going to try to motivate and influence her to do something and to get up off the couch and be more productive. So he enacted what he called a quality control program, one in which they talked about expectations, they identified goals, and they tracked it on their wall. And he said, every week we'll get together and we'll talk about how well we're meeting each other's expectations. And he said, my mother taught him the power of non-participation. He said, my mother did not speak to him for a couple of weeks. And throughout his time with my mom growing up, or developing their relationship, he told me that at first I thought she was just having a bad day. But as our relationship grew, she really impressed upon my mind that any time that I was going to try to influence, impact, or control her life, that his stress would go up, the cost would go up, and the amount of sleep he got would go down. And as he explained this to me, it really is a kind of a funny story, and it makes total sense. But oftentimes, we're not in that same mindset with other people and as we go about doing business in life. But this is where the individual-centered principle comes from. Yes, is trying to allow people to be themselves a difficult thing? Yes, for adults, it's the most difficult thing you're ever going to encounter. Why? Because when you're dealing with children and you give them total freedom, are they going to just be the most well-behaved, make the best choices in their life, and be able to just be exactly how you want them to be? And the answer is no. They're young. They're immature. They're going to make the worst choices you've ever seen. They're going to cause the most amount of disruption. They're going to make it the most difficult for everybody else. Because they're young. They don't know any better. They're developing. They're going to make mistakes, right? As they get older, we're hoping they make less mistakes. But even then, some adults still are making tons of mistakes. So to be able to pull back and give children and students their freedom is a very, very difficult thing. So I completely understand if you're on the other end saying, whoa, what are you expecting me to do? Release all rules, all control of these students? What's going to happen then? Yes, probably your worst nightmare. Students won't do as much. Yes, they'll make bad choices. They'll disrupt the class. They'll do a lot of different things that you don't want them to do. But the reality of it is, as we've looked at evidence and development of people and research that have been done in this area, that actually will help the students to grow because they will learn from their mistakes. They will learn what's going on and allow them and give them the opportunity to be able to develop. Now, what does this mean? There's a couple of things to individual-centered in giving students their freedom. Giving students freedom doesn't mean we're not trying to help the students. It means we're going to take all of our resources, all of our information and knowledge and expertise as teachers that you have. It means we're going to take all the resources around the student. And instead of just throwing it at them, forcing them to use it in a certain way, we're going to shape it around who they are. And so, if you're implementing this in the classroom, there's a couple of things that this means. One is first you have to get to know the student. You have to figure out who they are. In my experience as a college professor, I had to teach over 250 students a semester. That's sometimes up to 500 different students in a year. But what I would do is, as much as I could, I would try to watch the key stats on all of my students. What grades they're getting, who's coming to class, who's not participating. And I'd keep in a big spreadsheet so I could actually filter it and find the students who were the worst off. These students, I would try to get personal interviews with them, try to figure out what they're going through, what's going on in their life. With all the students, I try to keep track of information on every student. It makes a very big difference if a student is going through a divorce in their family, or if a student has a very stable family, he has a vision of life and knows exactly what he or she wants to do moving forward. And so the first thing is individual center means getting to know the students. The second is trying to shape things around what the students want. Not what we want for them, but what the student wants and what the student cares about. There are many principles in career training and management and leadership that students can learn from playing video games. Students can learn from skateboarding. Students can learn from being on their phone socializing. To try to get assignments, to try to get homework, to try to get them to do things with the principles you're teaching. Things that they care about though, things that they can implement in their life right now is the greatest thing. And so oftentimes, to give you some examples, I've seen teachers give options. One option could be, this is the assignment, but if you can think of a better assignment in how you want to implement it and what you want to do in your life to improve your life with what's going on in class, that's always an option for you to do. To make it and to shape it around the student is a real key thing. In my college class, I told the students, look, you come to class, you get an A. Why? I want them to be relaxed. I want them to not have to worry about what they're going to learn. 2, when I gave them homework and assignments, it was always about them taking the ideas they learned in class and implementing it in their life in any way that improved their life. Whether it was in a relationship, whether it's their personal development, whether it was towards a job or whatever it is. But the more that they can figure out how to implement it in a way they want to, the better. And the more flexibility you give them in their assignments, the better. Now, you might be thinking, what? You don't grade assignments? You don't actually decrease a student's grade if they didn't do the homework? How many students would do the homework then? Amazingly, when the students found out it was for their benefit, more than 98% of the students would do their homework regularly, consistently. Because we shaped the assignments to not be too difficult. Just one page write-up, but it had to be something that was impactful in their life. And so in them seeing this, it allowed them to be able to do the work, to engage in it, and to learn more. This is kind of what individual-centered means. And it is a very difficult thing. And this isn't an all or nothing type of thing, right? It's not like we give them total freedom or we don't give them any freedom. But you probably have experimented with giving students more freedom in your class already. But try to find one more thing you can do. Of course, you have to feel comfortable. And that's the biggest thing. So like with parenting, I always say you never can judge another parent's parenting because you don't know who their students are. You don't know what they're going through. And this is the same way with teaching. So here, I give you a principle and idea. It's a proven idea. As when you look in business, you start to see management and leadership and development experts, all of them have found out, whether it's Marcus Buckingham, who he was involved in leadership of the Gallup poll. They surveyed thousands of top-rated managers from all the different companies, and what did they find? That the best managers with the highest performance didn't try to change their employees, but they identified what their workers were good at, and they put them in a situation that allowed them to flourish in that without being told what to do. You also got Jim Collins, who was the author of Good to Great, identifying that the great companies, they all found the right people and put the right people in the right positions. Not trying to change who the people are, but people who are naturally good at something. Edward Deming, Peter Drucker, all of these are in the industry, manufacturing, large organizations, helping them become more efficient through not trying to motivate, not trying to influence, not try to tell people what to do, but create a good environment that allows the people to flourish on what they're naturally good at. And it goes on. W.L. Gore, Ricardo Semler, both owners of companies that they took to become great companies, all giving their employees and workers freedom, all allowing them to do what they do best, not trying to shape them, but allowing them to go in the company, figure out what they want to do, and allowing them to do it. So I know this is a difficult thing. Hopefully, as you do your assignment this week, you can find one more thing to allow more freedom and make your teaching more individual-centered. Thank you so much. You have a great day. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video and you want to see more, press the thumbs up button below and subscribe to our channel. And if you have any questions, please put them in the comments below and we'll answer them in future videos.